Good morning, everybody. It is the Mike Missanelli Show, ready to roll as we approach another Eagle game this Sunday, a game that they should win handily. So we'll just count on that, right? They have no chance to lose this game in my mind. So our focus has to be on other things today. Now, yesterday we talked about whether this team, being running back based, being rushing attack based, would last and actually win a Super Bowl against the odds of teams that win Super Bowls. The teams that win Super Bowls usually pass. So we talked about that yesterday. But what's important that we also talked about yesterday was where the game will be played, the NFC title game. And if it's played here in cold weather, that running game plays. If they play it in Detroit, well, maybe it's a different story. It's so important. And thus, tonight's game, Thursday night game, is very important to Eagle fans and the Eagles in general. We have some statistics here on who will get the number one seed. And if the Eagles get the number one seed, of course, that benefits them to the point where they go, we host every game. So, Bill, I know you were digging into more statistics yesterday and last night. What are the Eagles' percentage chances if the Lions lose tonight to the Green Bay Packers?
So it's interesting because...
This is Bill Colarulo, by the way. I'm Mike Missanelli. We have Ray Dunn. The whole gang's here. All right. So there you go.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Ray's still recovering. He went to the Sixers game last night and saw that.
Oh, thriller.
Another loss.
A thriller.
Another loss. But tonight's an important game for Eagles fans to pay attention to because you got the Detroit Lions hosting the Green Bay Packers. If the Lions win tonight, the Eagles' chance of being the top seed in the NFC drops to 12%. If the Lions lose tonight to the Packers, it's an even 50-50 split for the Eagles to get the top seed in the NFC. So the numbers I dove into, Michael, is I wanted to see how important the top seed would be for the Philadelphia Eagles because that's what we keep throwing around. How important is it that they would get the first round bye and then host the NFC Championship? Well, you remember the NFL changed in 2020 where only the one seed gets the bye. So you're talking 8 teams now. We have an 8-team sample size. Shockingly, only one top seed has won a Super Bowl since they switched to this new formula. It was the Kansas City Chiefs when they beat the Eagles back in 2022. Only 50% of the teams that were a top seed went to a Super Bowl. But I'm throwing those statistics out the window because this is why I think it's important. The Detroit Lions, who are 11-1, who have dominated a lot of teams, it's not even close how much better they are offensively at home in a dome than they are away outdoors. They've played 10 of their games indoors this season. 10. They're averaging 34 points a game. They've only played 2 games outside. They're only averaging 22 points a game. So you're talking about a difference of 12 points a game indoors versus outdoors. And we haven't even gotten into the cold weather like you would probably have late January, Philadelphia hosting an NFC championship game. I think it's extremely, extremely important if the Eagles want a chance to go to the Super Bowl that they host the NFC championship game and not have to go to Ford Field in Detroit.
All right, this is a game that a lot of people are on board with the Packers. They don't give the Lions much of a chance tonight, which is really interesting to me. And let's look at why. Detroit has been without defensive players, and they're all banged up. And now they have to come back on a Thursday. We're talking about, obviously, Aiden Hutchinson early. The defensive tackles aren't going to play in this game against the Packers. DJ Reader and Owazuke, or whatever, however you pronounce that. Josh Pascal is out. Malcolm Rodriguez won't play. The linebackers are on IR. Left tackle Taylor Decker is going to miss tonight's game. What's the line on this game?
Lions are actually favored by 3.5.
They are.
They are favored by 3.5. Look, it's in Detroit. Both teams are coming off of a Thursday game, I believe, right? Did Green Bay play on Thursday night too, Ray, on Thanksgiving?
Yep.
So you got both teams with normal rest. It's just, Mike, if this game was in Green Bay, Packers all day. But the Lions, they're just at home. They're a different team, man. They are a different team. We got to hope Dan Campbell's boneheaded decisions show up tonight.
Of course, I know. I was waiting for that to happen. All right, so tonight is big for the Eagles, and but I look at the rest of Detroit's schedule. There's another loss there.
You would think,
There
right?
really is. The Eagles now, the latest power rankings have the Eagles 2, right behind the line. So it goes Lions, Eagles, Bills, Packers. In the fourth slot, sneaking up on everybody, and then you get the Vikings. So, those two teams are trying to make a push. They're both ahead of the Chiefs in the power rankings. So the NFC is the stronger conference right now.
Yeah, it's interesting how that's working out now. But look, you can't overlook the Bills and even the Ravens that the Eagles just dominated. I think they're good football teams. But, you just made me think of something. I keep focusing on the Lions. The Lions. It's going to be Eagles, Lions. Are we underestimating any of these other teams in the NFC?
No, we talked about this yesterday. Listen, let's face it. The Packers and the Vikings are nice teams. They're not at the level of the Lions and the Eagles. Do you actually believe that?
I don't, but you never know what happens when teams get on a winning streak headed into the playoffs. Like, who expected the Packers last year to go into Dallas and dominate the way that they did, the way that the Dallas Cowboys had been playing at home? And I know Eagles fans out there are saying, well, that's what the Cowboys do. They choke in the playoffs. I get it. But you just never know if a team gets hot at the right time. I don't know if we should just be overlooking the Packers and overlooking the Vikings. I think the Eagles are a better team. I think the Lions are a better team. But one game, anything can happen in one game.
All right, we're going to talk about this all day long. We'd like to get your feedback on it, on where you see this going. I have to be honest. I see it going to the Eagles' favor right now. I now think that they're going to host an NFC title game in Philadelphia.
That would be very important.
The Lions are just banged up. They've got one or two losses left in their schedule. I'm not sure the Eagles do, but then that goes back to the 17 in a row thing that we'll talk about, that they would have to rattle off to win the whole thing.
Yes, I've expressed those concerns before. If the Eagles win out and they're the 2 seed, they would have to win 17 games in a row to win the Super Bowl. Even if they win out and they're the top seed, they would still have to win 16 straight. But the Lions have already won 10 in a row.
Yeah.
So if they keep winning, I mean, you're talking even crazier numbers.
But they're not. See, the Eagles have a better chance to keep winning than the Lions. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
Because they have the Packers tonight at home. Mm-hmm. Then they play the Buffalo Bills at home.
Yeah, it's still two pretty tough teams back to back.
They are, and I got into this conversation with my dad yesterday about home field advantage not really mattering. It doesn't matter necessarily with crowd noise. Sometimes you can get past that. But when you're talking about a Bills team that plays outside, we all saw the snow and the weather and how cold it is. But you're talking about a Lions team that plays indoors. They are built for an indoor stadium.
I get it, but wouldn't the Bills feel refreshed by playing indoors as well? They're a good team, so they don't have to play in bad conditions. Wouldn't that loosen them up?
It's possible, but you're right. The best chance of the Lions losing is the next 2 weeks. Because then they go on the road to Chicago. I know they almost lost on Thanksgiving to Chicago, but they're a better team. Then they go on the road to San Francisco. The 49ers are a mess. They're not going to have Christian McCaffrey. They're all banged up.
Well, these two games are important. That's why I say, like, the home field advantage is more important when you're playing outdoors in cold weather than it is indoors. I think pro football players love to play indoors. It's comfortable. They don't have anything to worry about, no elements. It makes them faster.
It does.
I'm not
but,
saying that's such a home field advantage for the Lions.
Yeah, but go back to what we spoke about yesterday. The way that this Eagles team plays, with the physicality on both lines of scrimmage, the way they pound the football, they run the football, wouldn't you much rather have that game in a cold Philadelphia stadium?
No, there's no question. But I'm saying, as far as the Bills go, having to go to Ford Field, I don't think that's that bad of a deal for them.
But it would be better for the Eagles if the Lions lose tonight and win next week than the other way around. Because if they beat the Bills, you still probably lose the tiebreaker because they would have a better conference record than the Eagles. So there's a lot of things at factor here. But I'm curious if fans think it's as important as I think it is that the Eagles are the one seed.
All right, so it's 610-632-0975. We'll also touch on the Sixers. Ray was at the game last night. The Sixers lose a heartbreaker to the Orlando Magic. And here's the deal. Podcast P was available yesterday, but Playing P was not available last night. And for some reason, people aren't outraged as much as I am by that. I don't understand it. Podcast P actually turns into Playing P and played last night, 20 minutes, they win the game. 610-632-0975, Mike Missanelli Show, back after this.